Welcome back to me, Ben, playing City Skylines 2 here in Cedarpoint County, episode 5 of my series, One Tile at a Time. After my last episode, I asked you guys for feedback, which topic I should cover next in my upcoming episode, and it turned out that you wanted to see a college district, fully designed, fully created in episode 5. This is what I came up with. It's fully detailed, 8.5 hours roughly of build time and decoration time. I think most of the time went into decoration, less into the build. So before we are starting, I show you some views of my city. For my fifth tile, I'm picking one that's a little bit closer to the coast, up in the northern parts of my current downtown area. So I'm starting with putting down the first modern university in that case, and I'm also using all the extensions and upgrades that are available that come with the game right from the start to ensure that I'm not missing in the long run any chance to upgrade and get the maximum out of my university here. So I had to do some landscaping work first because I realized that the terrain there lowers down the closer we get to the beach, and I also needed to ensure that the roads are laid down properly and to include a lot of parking options, because usually those universities, they tend to attract a lot of cars. Since it's post-bike patch, I can finally use bridges that include bikes and pedestrians to cross the road. What you'll experience in this episode is that very often I do have some challenges with connection points between those mixed bike and pedestrian paths. They usually tend to produce a strange connection to the roads nearby, so they don't look as great as I was anticipating it. So I'm not yet too happy with the patch. And then of course it's also time to add a lot of parking, lots additional parking spaces next to the university, includes bike racks and bike parking spaces. And then finally, to get everything finished, I'm also rebuilding parts of the transition, the overpath for my pedestrians and my bikes, after I laid down the connection road between the parking lot and the main road or main arterial road. So behind that university, I imagine that there are a couple of student homes and probably also homes for the professors and the doctors teaching. So I added in basic road layout, just using some alleyways here and there and using the standard buildings, some row houses, but also some 2x2, 3x3 houses to the empty lots. And that way I'm filling up that area, building a quay wall next to the highway, then unifying the look of the buildings and the rooftops and whatnot, and copy pasting it with the coloring mod that you can get from PDX mods. And that way I'm able to fill the empty spaces quite easily, moving things around to ensure that it's spaced out evenly. having also the first true connection to my highway that runs underneath the 2x2 lane, the 4-lane road here.
Won't you take a chance and swim against the tides, heading toward the storm, swept aside by fate? My body and my soul can't hold this load no more. My body and my soul can't hold this no more.
I still think that it's not enough for this district to have only one university. It should basically cover the main, or if possible, all of my citizens, the main part of my citizens, not only living here in the downtown area, but also later on in the outskirts. So what I'm adding is another university to the same tile.
Body and my soul can take this world no more.
After trying a couple of options, I went with the Japanese university, which is quite tiny from its footprint, I would say, and also
can't hold this no more.
but I still didn't like the look of it, so in the end I picked the Netherlands University because it fitted my theme a little bit better, and I on purpose moved it a bit back from the road to ensure that I have enough parking lots up front, so I'm creating a more or less custom parking space there by using the one-way roads with parking lots on the left and on the right side. And then I'm adding in a couple of sport amenities, but also additional buildings that come with the Netherlands University to extend its functionality and ensure that it covers as much demand, to be precise, as possible. Now I'm adding also some climbing, bouldering venue here, some tennis courts, a football field, American football field, some additional parking lots because I imagine that this place might become full as soon as it's game day. Now when you have a look at that situation where I was trying to run the mixed pedestrian and bike paths to the front of my university, you can actually see how bad the integration currently looks. So I wish the devs would have done a better job here, creating a nicer transition for each type of road. The connections usually look strange, so I'm getting rid of that pretty soon because I didn't like it. Then I'm building some road network here, adding some roads and some paths, footpaths to get to the edge of my tile here. I'm not spending too much time here on the parts outside of the tile. And now it's about time to add some more medium density houses because I want to ensure that I get some more citizens into my city or downtown area, and it also creates a nice transition between my downtown area and the university district here. And I also need to add some commercial zones, some commercial buildings along the way, another parking lot, underground parking lot in that case.
Nothing you will keep. I fell in too deep, and as far as at least how I remember, we were leaving in September when red and gold paint the sky. And as far as though maybe I pretended, oh, I wish it never ended. I held on with all my might, still waiting on that last goodbye. See you standing by the door, watching the leaves as they fall once more. In the silence we made, I couldn't find the words to say. They linger in my mind. Oh, I wished you'd stay. Oh, I wished you'd stay. And as far as at least how I remember, we were leaving in September when red and gold paint the sky. And as far as though maybe I pretended, oh, I wish it never ended. I held on with all my might, still waiting on the last goodbye. Last goodbye. Last goodbye.
And for this empty part below my sport venues, I imagine a nice usable park for my citizens, so I'm leaving a lot of space empty there, but I'll take care of that in a bit as soon as I start detailing the work. And finally, since we do have quite a few buildings that could be built for or used for a very nice harbor front, I'm using some of these alongside with the quays here.
Oh, I wish it never ended.
The reason I'm doing this is actually because I want to include kind of a tiny harbor, fishing harbor and mixed use harbor for my citizens. It won't be functional, of course, but it will look nice after all and make a difference, hopefully, to that side of my downtown area. From there, I'm adding a couple more beachfront stores and also homes, because like the look of these buildings actually fit that area very, very well. And I especially like the new storefronts that are available in-game very much, because they look a lot like a typical, at least from my impression as an outsider, as a typical US beachfront store area. And in between all these residential areas, there is something that never has to miss, and this is a playground. So I'm taking the circular playground from the game and adding some decoration, some additional sand to it that makes it way more natural looking. now it's about time to create a connection between the university and my park area with a nice transition of the pedestrian overpath here down the little slope. Before we start creating a park here, I'm also adding in a few more parking lots to ensure that all my students do have enough space to get there and enjoy the amenities. And now it's decoration time. Finally, I'm able to get started with that. So this, just for your info, this took me the majority of the recording actually was based on the decoration of the tile that I almost filled. At that point, obviously, I'm not going to show you all the details. I'm just picking a couple of scenes in a couple of areas where I'm either very proud of or that I found quite challenging to decorate to make it look as like realistic and as much as possible real life looking. And I even spent like decorating those parts of those homes with additional gardens and grasses, different types of lawn mowing styles. Because I wanted to ensure that like everything has a slightly different look to it, which makes it like, especially when you have a top-down view, a bird's eye view on the city later, you will think at some point that this is kind of like a natural build. It doesn't exist in a game like City Skylines 2. It might be more like a satellite view out of Google Earth, but in much better quality, obviously. So here I'm researching a lot of like decoration stuff that I can add to the tiny homes here. I imagine these to be kind of fraternity homes, or at least for professors and their families, but more like fraternity homes, a little bit dirty. it's about time to get started with decorating the park area below the second university area, and to create some very specific like outdoor spots and possibilities, like recreational possibilities there for my citizens. But first, I always love to use these boulder walls as a kind of a barrier, a natural barrier between two separate distinct areas. In that case, it's the parking lots, it's tennis courts, and then it's the lower park underneath that. And here I'm building also an outdoor gym, which hopefully will be used. By the way, there is one thing in the game that I always try to use, but without any effect so far. And this is this is sitting in one of the area bucket tools, which allows me to create a specific recreational area in a city, but for some reason, like, citizens never use it. So I'm not sure whether that mod, it's either a mod or part of the game that's just made available in the tool space here. I never was able to get any citizens actually using that space that I created, which is a bummer because I spent so much time on decorating and texturing and whatnot the gym area here. But also, like, later on you will see me decorate another basketball court, some tiny playground area right next to the gym, and a couple of other things that I will show you within the next few minutes. And I'm also trying to randomize like the placement of bushes, trees and whatnot to just make it as natural as possible. And of course, never You should never miss having a skate park in a city. That part of the city where I have medium-sized residential areas, I'm also trying to give them some green space between the highway above and their apartments, just to ensure that it's a bit more quiet for them during the night. And here comes one of my favorite spots so far. It's so funny. Like usually you would try to get rid of all building sites, but sometimes it also, makes parts of certain districts of your city look more realistic when you use or create your own individual building site here, which is what I did. I put in a crane, I put in a bunch of tools and stuff and crates that are lying around here, or at least stapled, so that construction workers can actually use those. then something you never have to miss, or you never should miss, is getting things a bit dirty, because building sites are never clean, at least not in western parts of the world. I experienced way different things when I was in Japan. I've never seen any cleaner like building sites at all than in major cities like Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, Nagano, Nagoya, Hiroshima. All these sites were so amazingly clean, and you can take a look at that, by the way, when you want to learn more about this. Just Google it. You'll find a bunch of videos on YouTube covering that topic. It's really interesting, because our Western approach with like building sites and such is like it's 100% different. Then I also, as usual, continue to fill up certain spaces in my city that are still green, that need some texture, either some concrete or some pathways or whatnot, just to ensure to make it look more natural. And then last but not least, before I'm ending this episode and leaving you with some additional impressions of my downtown area that was expanded by the university square or tile. my first beach here in Cedarpoint County. And to make it more realistic, I'm layering again textures, one texture over the other, to make a nice transition or create a nicer transition between darker parts of the beach and lighter or brighter parts of the beach, because wet sand is usually darker than dry sand. So this is what I'm trying to accomplish here. I should have done it actually the other way around, first creating the brighter parts and then taking care of the wet sand parts, because that's usually way easier. And then I'm using my stamping tool to smoothen things a little bit and put some sand on the sidewalks, because yeah, why shouldn't there be any sand, to be honest? Because people are walking around, dogs are running around, there's wind, there are waves and whatnot. Like, it won't be as clean as it is in vanilla city skylines. With that, guys, I want to thank you again for watching this episode. It's episode 5, or it's been episode 5. It's been quite some, it took me quite some time to get things finished. Like, as I said, 8.5 hours build time, decoration time in total. The challenge for me was in the past few days and weeks, I was a lot on business travel, which is quite unfortunate. So it took me roughly 2 weeks to get this episode finished. And the other thing that happened is there were some additions added to City Skylines. Yeah, I'm quite excited about those. I bought the extension packs, both of them, because I'm always curious. And yeah, I think in one of the next sites I'll probably do another survey to see what I should build next. It took quite a while for my mods to be updated before I could actually use and load my city back up, because many of the textures were broken. And this is something I didn't want to show you in the little cutscenes that I added here into my city, into this video of my city. So thanks again for joining me. I hope I see you next time in Cedarpoint County, and it's always great having you here. Have a good time, stay safe, and maybe you want to bookmark my channel. Thanks a lot for following me here. Bye bye.